Welcome to DXB Nomads, your passport to the stories, lessons, and adventures that shape our lives and those of our guests. The idea is basically we talk about people who are nomads, essentially based out of Dubai, not necessarily, but that's the starting point for us. When we say nomads, what we essentially mean are people who are maybe ethnically from a certain place, but have then now migrated to a different place in their lives. So, for example, in my case, my name is Awad. My father is African, he's Sudanese. My mother is Filipino, but I've spent a lot of my life here in the UAE. And to my left, we've got Amir. Say a few things about yourself just so that people know who you are.
Hi everyone. Hope you guys enjoy our show. This is gonna be the pilot, as Awad mentioned, DXB Nomads, and we're gonna get into a lot about the people who live here, because basically Dubai or UAE, uh, there is not so many locals, but way too many people who moved here and live here, and that's why we call ourselves DXB Nomads. And basically, my name is Amir. I'm originally from Iran, Persian, and moved here when I was about 6. Lived here for about good 15 years. Moved to Hungary, studied there, lived there for about 7 years. Recently moved back to Dubai. So yeah,
Okay, so as you could see basically from the brief introduction that we've given is we've been everywhere. Although, so I've said that my parents are from different places. I've spent some time here. I spent some time in the U.S. I've spent some time in the Philippines. So we've been around quite a bit. And the idea is we will try to share our experiences and sort of show you guys, or not really necessarily show, but more of tell our story and tell the story of our guests who may and or may not have had a similar experience but have had the whole nomadic experience in general, not necessarily based out of Dubai, but that, like I said, would be our starting point because we are based out of Dubai. Um, so you mentioned that you are Iranian, Persian, and you've spent some time in Hungary and you've lived here. And obviously, I know the story, but what was your basis for that? So, what happened? How did you end up from Iran to the UAE to then study in Hungary and then come back here? Just a very quick, brief.
basically, when from the very beginning, my family, my parents, they wanted us to learn English, to live abroad. So that was the whole idea. The whole reason why we moved to Dubai was for me and my sister to speak in English, and to learn and to be able to communicate in different languages. So we moved here, which was great. We studied here during elementary and then high school, even university for a year or two, and then my dad was like, "Why don't you move to Europe or America? Because their education system is much better, obviously, compared to Dubai." And that was the whole reason why I moved to Europe, to Hungary, and I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering and stayed there for 7 years, 7 wonderful years. And yeah, recently moved back to Dubai.
Okay, fair enough. Well, in my case, my story is I was born in the US, lived there for a few years. Parents decided it would be best for us to move out here for cultural reasons, safety reasons, that kind of thing. So the US obviously at the time wasn't exactly safe. So we moved down here, lived here for a few years. Then I had to go and study in the Philippines for university, mainly because I was very young when I graduated high school. I think I was 14 and I was getting into university already, and I was too young for a lot of the places that I wanted to go to. So I had no choice but to study in the Philippines. So I studied in the Philippines for a few years. Obviously, after graduating, I came back here just because working career wise, it would be better to grow here than in the Philippines. So I did that, and I've been here since. I want to say it was a good experience. I've learned how to live by myself and all of that, but it's still a learning curve.
It has its perks, and
Exactly. In your opinion, do you think the experience of being from different places has helped you adapt to living in the UAE? You've mentioned that the UAE is primarily filled with foreigners, people who
yeah.
are not necessarily based. or from here necessarily. Do you think your experiences from across the world, do you think it helped you in making friends in your career paths in that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, like our school, we had people from almost everywhere. We had British, we had Africans, we had Europeans, Americans, South Americans. So growing up, we were basically in a multicultural environment, and we always give and take. So basically, we catch from the culture, from their behavior, and we adopt, and then we pass on as well. So the atmosphere helped me to be able to you know to adapt to for instance, when I moved to Hungary. Yeah, it's not that easy moving. It may sound easy, but it's not that easy, especially if you're family oriented and you're very close to your family.
Sure.
So it wasn't easy, but yeah, growing up here definitely helped me to adapt to different certain circumstances and with different cultures. So yeah, it definitely did help. What about you?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know too much about the cultures or the original and ethnic cultures of my parents, but being exposed to it, obviously being at home, come home to a diverse household with mixed races at home, and then I go to school and I meet a whole bunch of other races, spend some time with them. So yes, I've learned how to adapt. I've actually developed a sort of skill that my friends sort of call like radio channels, put it in one way, where my accent and my attitude sort of changes depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, I know. I catch on that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sort of depends, just because you've learned how to adapt. And the thing is, for me, it's very subconscious. I don't even know I'm doing it. It's just something that comes out based on who I'm talking to, based on where they're from, what I think they're like, and suddenly I just switch into this persona of mine. So it's still me. I'm not faking it. It's just my accent changes a little bit. There's slight deviances. There's going to be slight changes in terms of the way I act, maybe just because I think that this would work better for this group of people, for example. So that's the whole idea. But in terms of adapting in general to the different cultures, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I developed that skill. It's a very subconscious, very passive skill. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it was an easy trip for me. So when I went and studied in the Philippines, uh, my parents quite literally just dropped me off in the dormitory. I was 14 at the time. Dropped me off in the dormitory and gave me an allowance, and they continue giving me allowance all throughout my university life. But I didn't have family or friends when they dropped me off there. I was completely by myself. My closest family members at the time were about a 3 hour car ride away. So sure, they were around, but they weren't necessarily around, if and when. So it did help me build my character, help me build, be self sufficient and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's been an interesting experience, I want to say. I mean, we can get into that whole story more because there's a lot of things that happen in between that sort of helped solidify who I am as a character today. But that's not going to be. We're not going to dive in too much into that in
Yeah.
this episode. It's a little too heavy, but maybe in the next episode. So yeah, feel free to watch along. Um, in that sense, how do you see yourself going forward? I mean, you mentioned that you did X, Y, and Z, and you've learned from it, and it's helped you adapt. But how do you see yourself moving forward as somebody who is very diverse in terms of their upbringing? Right? Is there something you think that would essentially maybe a specific skill that would essentially help you moving forward, or is there a specific goal that you have moving forward? Is there a place you call home because you have all your ethnic diversity?
Well, basically, it's funny that you mentioned somewhere you call home, right? I mean, for me, I can't really tell where I can call home because every one third of my life was spent in different countries. Yeah. So, for instance, the latest place I came from was Hungary, and that's why I feel like I feel closest to at the moment, at least for now. And Dubai was my past, and then it switched to my present. So I'm still adapting to the new Dubai life. But as far as home goes, there's this cliche that home is where your heart is, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind that part. But yeah, basically, Hungary was home to me. Hungary was home to me. Hungary is where I felt like I turned into a man because, like you said, our parents just dropped us off. There you go, you know, get into the wild, you know. So I wasn't 14, but I think, about 18, 19.
Hmm.
And it was very difficult for me because I just love my family so much. And yeah, I'll never forget the first few days. It was one of the hardest things I had to go through. But as time went by, it got easier. You could say, you know. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Hungary felt home to me.
It's actually funny you mentioned that, because you said that you became an adult in Hungary, right? In my case, s- became an adult in the Philippines, because that's where I sort of went from a teenager to an adult. Well, I left the Philippines as a teenager. I graduated still at, I think I was 18 when I graduated university as a software engineer, but I don't know if I would call the Philippines home. I mean, maybe at one point I would say the Philippines was home for me. And I think that falls back to the concept of home. I mean, you mentioned the cliche, home is where the heart is. I like to put my own twist to that and say home is where a person is or a group of people is. So at one point, I did consider Philippines home, mainly because I had, friends and people I knew there, people that I was comfortable with around with me in the Philippines. But it's been, what, 10 years at least since I've left the Philippines. So I don't know if I can still call upon those same people because I haven't really been in touch with them. I'm not the best at communicating online.
No, actually, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, at that time, those were the people that you know you spend most of your time with,
Yeah.
and you have your memories with. So yeah, it makes sense. And now, I mean, when was it you were in the Philippines?
I was in the Philippines 2008 to 2012, end of 2012.
Okay, so it's been over a decade.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't call it home
Yeah.
as of now. Because if it still did feel like home, you would probably find a way back to it.
But here's the thing, right? I've left the Philippines in 2012,
Hmm.
say maybe early 2013, something like that. And I've been here since,
Yeah.
but I still don't think I call this place home. Like, I mean, the UAE is great. Dubai is fantastic. I mean, career wise, it's a beautiful place, especially if you like the luxury lifestyle. You've got, the beaches any time of the year. I mean, it's hot in the summer, but for the most part, you can access the beach. But I don't know if I could still call the UAE home. I've got, again, although I do say home is people, my family lives here, my friends live here. There's just something about the UAE that makes you feel that it's not exactly home. It's the idea that at one point in your life you have to leave because you're going to run out of a visa. Everybody here who is not a local has a visa, and they have to run it in a basis of, say, I mean, you've got the golden visa that goes for up to 10 years,
Yeah.
but still, it's a visa. It's not a permanent residency. It's not the You don't become a national per se. So at one point, everybody's got to leave by hook or by crook, right? So I think that's what's stopping me from feeling like the UAE is home. The issue I'm having now with that is I don't know where I would go back to if, in case I had to leave the UAE. If tomorrow, for whatever reason, I need to leave, I don't think I would know where to go. I mean, you could go to the safe choice and say, I just go back to the US. I can't exactly go back to Sudan because of the war, obviously there. I can't do Philippines because, well, you just don't make as much money, and to get a comfortable life in the Philippines, it is cheaper, yes, but the opportunities are very different, right? In the US, sure, you can get a I could get a decent job in the US, but I haven't lived in the US in over 2 decades.
Hmm.
Um, So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know exactly where to go. I mean, for you, I don't know. What's the case for you? Would you go
No,
back?
definitely. Like I get your point. Like there's no way for me to go back to Iran. I love to visit, you know, once in a while because of the food, the the adventures we go through, seeing places and all these things. But to live there, no, I don't think I can. Hungry because it's still fresh to me. I know it's been a year, but I love that place, you know. So I spent most of my 20s there. So yeah, hungry, probably. I mean, why not? I would. If if I had to leave this place, I would definitely go back to Hungary.
Yeah.
But the thing about us is that I think no matter where we'll go, we can adapt to it because we're used to it.
That is a good point. Yeah. So I do agree. If in for cases for people like us, where we are used to being nomads, where we travel and especially spend our childhood in different places, I think we can definitely make a home anywhere. Um, Especially considering the fact that you know this is our problem now as maybe what fourth world kids, fifth world kids. Imagine what our children would feel the moment we have children or they have children. If the lines of countries is blurry for people like us, when we go down one level, our kids, for example, are even going to have a blurrier line. It's going to be even more confusing for them because they wouldn't even know what home is. Because for us, if we can adapt anywhere, they most definitely can adapt anywhere, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it just depends again on what the goal is and what you're aiming for. Career wise, obviously, it's better to be able to move if and when required, just so that you're not stuck within a certain economy. If an economy is failing and you think you need to move, then you can just book a flight, go down there, start fresh, do your own thing. So there are benefits. The only downside is you're always on the move.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
always on the move, so you can't get too attached.
yeah, exactly. Um, in that case, if you're ever going to get married, where do you think? Do you think?
Settle down,
Yeah, do you think you would
the
settle
end
down?
goal,
Do you think you'd settle down here?
Dubai.
Yeah. I mean, you could do
No,
worse. Dubai is a good place to.
it is a fantastic. I mean, it's anywhere you go, you say you live in Dubai, they're like, "Oh, Dubai," you know, like it's
Um,
everyone's fantasy,
I
to
mean,
live.
to be fair, there's a lot of hate in Dubai in the internet these days. I'm not sure why. I mean, sure, I get the idea about them, considering the place being very artificial and all that, but it doesn't really matter when you're looking at it from raising a family perspective because you have good schools here, you have good universities. As long as you have a home, it's safe. There's barely any crime. That's what sort of makes a country safe, and that's what makes it a good place to raise a family. It'd be a great place, especially to raise kids at because you've got beaches and parks around the corner. Summer period is a bit too hot, sure, but that's when they have summer breaks anyway, and you can take them around the world. It's a central hub. One of the things that I find is a great way to raise kids is to make sure they travel, right? And because the UAE is in a certain in certain geographic location, that makes traveling to Europe, Asia, even the US more accessible compared to certain places.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good thing that you mentioned raising kids here. Yeah, I was raised here, so I think it would be great for my children to be raised here because then they like what I went through. I have friends from all around the world, and I think that would be a great experience for them. So
Yep.
yeah, raising them here, yeah. But for as an end game where I would like to settle or just grow old with my wifey, and I think I always admired Barcelona.
Okay.
I never lived there, but I traveled there like 3 4 times. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I don't know how it would be if if I lived there, because it's one thing to travel to a place, but it's another thing to live.
Sure.
You know. But at the end of the day, if not Barcelona, I would say Hungary. I mean, it's gonna be always there. Like the people were very nice to me. Learned the language quite a bit, and weather is nice. Sometimes really cold, but it's okay. I like the cold, and you know, compare to the other countries that are in Europe, it's much cheaper. You know,
Sure.
so you can you know easily buy your dream house and you know live off your pension or whatever your savings without any trouble
Okay.
compared to like living in France or Italy or Spain.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah, that's for me. I mean, what about you?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, I do think that the Philippines is going to be a top contender for me, not because of, I mean, if the idea is retirement, the Philippines is definitely the top contender, mainly because, you've got nature, beaches, mountains, etc. So it's a very nice place to retire. Plus, the food is pretty good. I enjoy the food, and it's a relatively cheap country. The only issue that I have there is it's wet. It's wet all the time. There's lots of mosquitoes. Typhoons are a problem. So although Philippines is a top contender for me, I would think I would consider somewhere cooler as well because I do enjoy the winter season, the cold season. I do like wearing jackets and all that.
Come to Hungary, bro.
Yeah, you're in love with that place. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I did travel quite a bit to Hungary, uh,
Quite a bit,
quite a
quite a
bit.
bit.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely a place that I will consider. Besides, I mean, if we're retired, I'm sure we can travel. So I might do summers here, winter there, etc.
exactly.
etc.
No,
Who knows, right?
no, a
That's the
place can't hold us down. You know, like
exactly. Yeah, that's the whole point of being a nomad.
exactly. So, uh, I just wanted to add, I would definitely go back to Iran,
Yeah,
but that's under circumstances.
certain circumstances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
Okay.
go. Yeah. So I yeah, I was like, should I say it? Should I not say it? You know, and then the song went on. Yeah. So basically, nah, if some things change,
Yeah.
then I would love that place. I would love that place, but as of for now, I can't and I won't.
Sure.
So, you know, we hope we hope in the future things change and you know, I would love nothing less but to live in Iran, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, it sounds like I mean, it sounds like we're waiting for a few things. Everybody, of course, is waiting for a few things, and that's part of being a nomad. I mean, there's obviously the whole discussion of would you work as a nomad, where you would spend 2 months here, work on this project, and then travel there. But this is something that we can probably discuss in the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
So this is obviously just our pilot episode. We're just trying to get a feel for what it's like. If you guys have anything you guys want us to talk about, anything you want to hear, any guests you want to see, let us know. Maybe we can work something out and sort of see.
Exactly. Topics, guests, whatever. Yeah, exactly what Awad mentioned over here. So this podcast is you know basically in the hopes of you know talking about our experiences in the hopes that it can help the audience, those who want to perhaps move to Dubai or those who feel like they've been in our shoes. Because I know there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Basically, maybe 80% of the population in UAE is nomad.
Well, I essentially, yeah, 80% is people who have moved here, but not a lot of them are. I want to say consider the UAE as a place that they grew up in, mainly because most of the population here are people who work here with their families back home, and they just fly back on holidays or send money back home to sort of support their family. That's the most common scenario. What we will sort of want to talk about is more people who moved here and grew up here, and even that is starting to become a bigger population within the not just the region, different parts of the world. We are seeing growth in overall of people of different ethnicities mixing and doing all of that. But yeah, it's something we can talk about in the future episode. This is just a pilot episode. We're just trying to get a feel for what it's like, try to get the nerves calm down. And if there's yeah anything you guys want to see, let us know, and we'd be happy to talk about that and even do some research.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's it for the first episode. Or
Yeah,
do you want to add anything?
that's it for now. That's it, I think, for us.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. All
All
right.
right, man. Good job. Good job.